Okay, so you're hearing about China's economy everywhere you turn right. And it's all kind of doom and gloom, deflationary spiral this and slow down that. It's kind of a lot, honestly.
It's definitely got people talking.
But today we're diving into something interesting happening over there. Something we in the US know all too well, stimulus checks.
Yeah.
China's actually giving out stimulus checks. Can you believe that? I mean, what's the deal with that? We're going to unpack it all today with the help of our expert, of course. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so stimulus checks in China. Let's start there. This is not something we hear every day. Is this like a regular thing over there? We just like never noticed.
Not even close, actually.
Yeah.
It's a super rare move for them, like almost unheard of. China's always been more about those massive top-down projects, Think like huge infrastructure spending, not direct handouts to citizens. So, yeah, this is a big deal.
Wow. So if this is such a departure for China, why now? What's going on in their economy that made them decide to pull this out of their back pocket?
Well, a lot of it boils down to this term we keep hearing, deflationary spiral.
Right. Everyone keeps saying that, but what does it even mean? Like, is it just fancy economist jargon for things are getting more expensive?
Well, it's actually the opposite of that. Deflation means prices are going down.
Okay, so cheaper stuff. That sounds kind of good, actually. What's so bad about that?
It's not that simple, unfortunately. Think of it like this. Imagine waiting to buy that new phone you've had your eye on because you're convinced it'll be even cheaper next month. Sounds like a smart move, right?
Totally. Wait for the sale.
Exactly. But what if everyone thinks the same way? Companies see people holding back on spending, so they start selling less. Then they start producing less, maybe even have to let go of some workers because they don't need to make as much stuff.
And those workers who just got laid off, they're definitely not spending money now.
Exactly. And just like that, you've got this downward spiral, less spending, lower prices, more job losses, and even less spending. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy of economic doom.
Yikes. Okay, that spiral sounds pretty rough. So are these stimulus checks China's way of trying to, like, throw a wrench in that machine and get things moving again?
That's certainly a big part of it. They're hoping that by putting money directly in people's pockets, it'll boost consumer confidence and encourage spending.
Makes sense, but it still feels kind of small, doesn't it? Like, giving everyone a few yuan, is that really going to be enough to turn this whole thing around?
Well, it's definitely a drop in the bucket compared to China's massive population. We're talking 22 billion yuan distributed amongst 4.74 million people. But remember, it's also about the signal it sends. It shows that the government is taking action and that they're serious about getting the economy back on track. Plus, there's the whole timing of it, right before their National Day celebrations.
Ah, good point. It's like a birthday gift to the nation, except the gift is a nudge to go shopping.
Exactly. They want people to be out celebrating, not worrying about the economy.
Okay, I get the stimulus part, but why is this whole deflation thing happening in China in the first place? I mean, they're supposed to be like an economic powerhouse, right?
Right, and for a long time, they were practically unstoppable. But it's a complex issue with a few different factors at play. One of the big ones is overproduction. Remember all those factories we talked about churning out goods? Well, in some industries, supply has simply outstripped demand. They're making more than the world needs right now, and that leads to lower prices.
So it's like having a bakery overflowing with bread, but everyone's suddenly on a low-carb diet.
The perfect analogy. On top of that, you've got China's property market, which is a huge part of their economy. That's been in a bit of a slump lately. Property prices are declining, and that makes people hesitant to invest, which further slows down the economy.
It's like a domino effect. One thing knocks into another, and suddenly you've got a whole system that's a little wobbly. And of course, what happens in China doesn't stay in China, right? We're all connected in this global economy.
100%.
Hmm.
When China sneezes, the rest of the world catches a cold, as they say.
It's true. We saw that knee-jerk reaction in the stock market. First, a quick jump when the stimulus was announced, and then kind of a dip as people digested the news and what it really means. It's clear investors are still trying to figure out how this is all going to play out in the long run.
Absolutely. It's definitely got everyone watching and waiting to see what happens next.
So let's bring it back to those stimulus checks. Are they just a temporary Band-Aid, or are they a sign that China's changing its whole economic game plan? What do you think?
That is the billion yuan question, isn't it? They might provide a short-term boost, but for real, lasting change, China might need to address some of those deeper structural issues we talked about.
So what would that even look like?
Well, for starters, will they shift away from this export-heavy model and focus more on domestic consumption? Will they finally tackle those issues in the property market? It's a tall order, but these stimulus checks might just be the first step in a longer journey.
Only time will tell. One thing is for sure, the world is definitely watching.
Definitely.
This has been a fascinating discussion. I feel like I learned a lot. Thank you.
Thanks for having me. I enjoyed it.
And thanks to you all for listening. Until next time.